Evelina Flores is facing criminal trespass charges. Her hospitalized son, Amante Morgan, is accused of shooting Chicago cop Ella French during a traffic stop. His brother Eric is facing weapons charges. Cops released this body cam image of the officer when she pulled the Morgan brothers over for allegedly having expired plates.
Officer down, shot in the head between the eyes.
The slain officer was just 29 years old. She's the first female officer in Chicago to be slain in the line of duty in 33 years. Her partner was also critically wounded, and he's fighting for his life.
I just want to simply say there is another side, and my boy's side is not being told right now. I cannot speak too much on it, but I will say this. Don't believe everything you hear and see. It's fictitious. And there is another side. My boys are not monsters. What people trying to paint them to be at all. At all. There is another side. I don't believe a damn thing CPD says. And I can guarantee you this. My boys was afraid. I'm afraid. Our young black women, not only young black women, young black men, like I just said, I'm afraid. Adults are afraid of the CPD. And I'm clean. I'm not a criminal. My car is clean. I got insurance, all that. But if a cop get behind me, my heart drops. We fear our police here. Unfortunately, we fear them. We don't believe in them. We don't trust them. They get behind us. Our hearts drop. We scared. That's just the reality of it. Whether people want to hear that or not, I don't give a damn what people want to hear. I need to be a voice for my boys. Amante Morgan, my son.
Okay, hold on. Was there a security guard?
I want to see my son.
Oh, hold on.
Monty! Monty! Don't touch me! Get away from me!
Stop!
Stop!
Put your hands behind you.
All right, guys, so we have to do a follow-up story on a story that I did probably 2 or 3 years ago now, okay? And this story really shook me at the time that I did the story because it involves Chicago police officer Ella French, who tragically lost her life at the age of 29 after a routine traffic stop in which 2 young scholars by the name of Amante and Eric Morgan, plus another individual, they were pulled over due to expired plates, in which the police officers, including Miss Ella French, got out of the vehicle to check the vehicle, and they discovered that there was an open can of alcohol. Okay, so there was open alcohol. At that point, they have to check the individuals. One of the brothers, Eric, who was the driver, took off and started running after Amante Morgan started essentially resisting the police officers, not complying with their orders to put down his phone and to put down the alcohol. Okay, so they have to then try to force Amante to comply. Eric takes off running. Officer French's partner takes off running after Eric. Officer French goes to assist her partner with trying to detain Amante and to get him to comply. And during that interaction, Amante pulls out a .22 and shoots Ella French and her partner. Okay, now her partner survived, but unfortunately, Officer French was fatally shot in the head. So Officer French's partner that was chasing Eric heard the gunshots, turned around to go back to the vehicle, in which he saw Amante at that point outside of the vehicle, and Amante starts open firing on Officer French's partner, who was coming back to the vehicle. Officer French's partner starts to fire back at Amante. He actually strikes Amante a couple times. Amante takes off running to meet up with his brother, who had already taken off. And eventually, Amante and his brother are detained in some random person's backyard because Amante was suffering too much from the gunshot wounds to continue running. Okay, and that's basically the gist of the story. Now, fast forward to today, Amante has been found guilty of murdering a police officer. Now, Eric was found guilty of weapons charges, but Amante, the alleged murderer, no longer alleged, again, was found guilty of murdering Miss Ella French. And the mother of Amante went viral at the time for defending her son killing a police officer. And to this day, she is still defending her son killing this police officer, even though all of this footage was caught on camera. The jury saw it, and they concluded that, yes, your son is guilty of murder. Take a look.
With breaking news, a guilty verdict in the murder of Chicago police officer Ella French. I'm Scott Schneider.
I'm Dawn Hasbrook. That decision not taking jurors long. Casey Kronos live from the courthouse with late details. Casey.
Good evening, Dawn and Scott. The jury deliberated for just over 3 hours before finding 23-year-old Amante Morgan guilty on all 3 counts. It was an emotional trial for Ella French's family, who hugged through tears in the courtroom tonight once they learned her killer would be behind bars. In addition to being found guilty for first-degree murder, Morgan was also found guilty of the attempted first-degree murder of officers Carlos Yanez and Joshua Blass, French's partners who were with her on that fateful night. Every seat in the courtroom was filled when the verdict was read. In attendance were dozens of Cook County Sheriff's deputies and Chicago police officers, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox, and the families of French and her partners. French was killed by Morgan in August of 2021 while conducting a traffic stop in Inglewood. The defense argued that body camera video, which was a focal point of the state's case, was too muffled and chaotic to make out. But the prosecution reviewed that video with the jury again today during closing arguments, walking them through it frame by frame, pointing out where they say Morgan reached for the gun. During the trial, jurors heard emotional testimony, including from French's mom and Officer Yanez, who miraculously survived after being shot several times. The family of French, Yanez, and Blass did not comment publicly on the verdict tonight, but we did hear from Kim Fox, the president of the police union, and French's 8th District commander.
We are incredibly gratified by the jury's verdict today, but it is difficult to feel anything other than sadness about the senseless murder of a Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty, who laid her life on the line on behalf of the people of Cook County.
I know there's a lot of allegations by the defense. They couldn't have been more contrived and made up. They were almost fairy tale-ish in many ways. I'm glad the jury saw through that and did the right thing.
It's been a very trying week for the families of these members. It's been a very trying week for the Chicago Police Department, the city of Chicago, its residents. We all hurt through this incident, and this is one step closer.
Morgan's attorneys did not speak with us after the verdict was read, but his mom, who has defended her son throughout his trial, did. When Morgan was brought back into the courtroom tonight, he blew his mother a kiss before the verdict was read.
2 years ago, I told his defense she was shot in the back of the head. I was told I was delusional, that I was wrong. Well, turns out I was right. She was shot in the back of the head. And in the body-worn camera, it is impossible for Ella to have hit by the bullets from the vehicle that my son was in while he was being attacked by Carlos Yanez. It was impossible for him to be shot, given the positions of her and my son and Yanez. This is a cover-up, point blank, period. And I do believe that my son will receive justice. I will not stop. I will continue to fight for my son's justice. I will continue to advocate for people who have been victims of this corrupt judicial system. I will continue to advocate for those of lower socioeconomic statuses. We did not receive justice today. You guys, they serve somebody guilty that's actually innocent. And I am hurting right now, but I believe and I have full faith that my son will receive justice one day. Thank you.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, it's always the same story with these people. Okay, never take accountability or responsibility for anything. Okay, it's not her son's fault, it's the system. The system is what made him shoot and kill a police officer. I mean, he attempted to kill all three of the police officers. He only killed one, which again is extremely unfortunate. But yeah, it's the system's fault. It's not her kid's fault for driving around with an expired license plate and an open container of alcohol, which prompted the police to actually conduct the traffic stop in the first place. Had they not been driving around with an expired license plate breaking the law, they would not have been pulled over. Okay, it's not her kid's fault for acting like a thug, okay, by refusing to comply with police when the police were simply trying to be polite during the situation, which was also noted while they were watching the body cam footage that they were actually being very nice. And it's your kids who refused to comply with the police that escalated the situation. It's not her fault that she raised a couple of thugs, okay, who clearly and obviously from just looking at their pictures, you can see that they were not raised correctly. You can see that there's no father around, which tells you everything you need to know. This is just the stereotypical ghetto situation where you have a baby mama raising two sons and they're living a life of thuggery and criminality until somebody loses their life. And this situation just happened to be a police officer, okay? And she wants to blame everybody else except herself when it's her fault, okay? You raised your sons to be criminals, to be thugs, and this is the consequences of that, right? This is the consequences because they ended up killing somebody. But again, it's everybody else's fault. Everybody else's fault. Oh, it's a big conspiracy, okay? They're trying to go after my sons because they're black. This is what she said initially. When she initially defended her son, again, the video went viral because of how delusional she sounded. Well, black people have a reason to fear police. My sons were just scared. You don't understand. Again, this is why the rhetoric from the left is so dangerous. From these people that are out here telling black people it's okay to mouth off at police and to resist arrest, that cops don't have a right to be scared. Look at this situation right here. A routine traffic stop resulted in a police officer losing her life because, again, they pulled over two thugs who had a weapon in their vehicle, and unfortunately, they ended up getting shot. One of them ended up getting killed, and people wonder why cops are trigger happy. People wonder why cops take it very seriously when you have people that are resisting arrest and acting suspiciously. Stories like this is why they're trigger happy. This is why they're quick to pull out their weapon and to shoot and then ask questions later because of situations like this. But no. If you listen to the woke revolutionaries, the cops don't have a reason to be afraid, right? The cops don't have a reason to be trigger happy or to use force when you have individuals that are resisting arrest, that are not following orders. No, they don't have a reason. They're just racist, right? They just hate blacks, right? This is what they tell you. But again, look at a story like this. This is a cop's worst nightmare. What happened in this story right here is what cops fear. And this is happening more and more and more than ever in this country. Okay, it is the most dangerous time ever to be a police officer. That's why nobody wants to sign up for the job. Nobody wants to be a police officer because situations like this can happen. And if you're a police officer and you happen to be trigger happy and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to go home in a casket, right? I would much rather survive than to end up in a bad situation like this. Oh, you're demonized. Oh, well, you need to be stripped of your badge and yada, yada, yada. You're a racist. They'll throw you in jail. Okay, they'll make you Derek Chauvin. And then people wonder why we have a massive amount of police officers retiring. They're leaving the field. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do the job. It's a thankless job. And nobody wants to sign up to do it. That's why we have a shortage of police officers across the country. That's why we have out of control crime in these liberal cities. Because we don't have enough people wanting to sign up and do the job. And it's stories like this, again, it's a part of the problem. It's a part of the problem. Had Ella French took out her gun and shot one of these individuals who was resisting, who in their minds was willing to kill one of these police officers, had she done that and ultimately saved her own life, she would be demonized. She'd be demonized. You have protests in the street. People upset because one of the young scholars got shot by police while resisting arrest. They be making that person out to be the victim, just like this mother is doing right now. Again, this woman is delusional. In the face of facts and the body cam footage clearly showing that your son is guilty, your son is a cop murderer, she's still defending him, coming up with conspiracies as to why her son was found guilty. Again, the single mother problem in this country is the biggest issue that we have in this country when it comes to crime and violence. We all know the relation between single motherhood and crime. Very strong correlation. I would say it's causation, really. A lot of it. And stories like this is what I'm talking about. The fact that this mother can't hold her sons accountable is why they were raised in a way in which they would do something like this in the first place. Because she didn't raise them correctly. And it's sad, it really is, that in the face of facts and evidence and body cam footage, this woman is still denying reality. Still trying to defend her thug son who murdered a police officer. It's sad, it really is. It's shameful. And it's easy to understand why this happened when you look at the parent. Look at the parent. That is the best way to explain why we keep dealing with these type of situations, why we have the problems that we have in this country with our youth. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.